What indicates that Lori Loughlin's Abigail may return to When Calls the Heart? How did she comment on her criminal charges?
Nobody's perfect.
And what is the actress focusing on these days? Hi, I'm Janet, and the Hardys are on it.
You were always there for me. And I always will be.
Top reasons why Loughlin could return. Do you miss Abigail in When Calls the Heart ever since she left to care for her sick mother in Season 6? If you do, there's hope that you might see more of this character in the future. After all, quite a few indications show that Lori Loughlin might reprise her role one day. First of all, the show's writer and producer, Brian Bird, doesn't hide the fact that he still loves the actress, despite the scandal she was involved in. It was painful for us to do that because we love Lori. We want to see only the best for her, he shared a few months ago. Well, sure, they had to let her go back then because the only other alternative was to stop the show altogether, and no one wanted that to happen. Plus, the show writer recently said that Hope Valley should show fans that everyone deserves a second chance, and it should become an example of forgiveness and grace for its viewers. After all, these values are at the heart of the show. Abigail Stanton's story has always been an important part of the Hope Valley journey, Bird shared. Are his words a hint that they'll give Lori a second chance and let her come back to the series? Bird opened up a bit more about this, adding to his statement about second chances, not just for stories, but for real life. And the hints didn't end there. On the day that Lori started her prison sentence, a fan of the show tweeted his hopes for her return to the series. And the show co-creator replied to it, "Amen, brother, from your lips to God's ears." It was awesome to read this tweet, especially since Brian used one of Abigail's most iconic lines in it. Needless to say, fans of the show were delighted to read it, and they even said that Lori's return would be the best news of 2020. And Bird isn't the only one from the series who seems to want Loughlin's return. Her former co-star, Erin Krakow, who plays the series lead Elizabeth, recently referred to the actress as her forever friend. And Krakow also featured Loughlin in her photo collage on Twitter, including all of her favorite things from the year 2020. So there's no doubt that she'd love to work with Lori again. And Abigail still remains a favorite character for so many fans. Her supporters say that although she did make some bad choices, it doesn't negate all the good things she did before. What's more, her son Cody was removed from the series along with her, and fans miss him as well. And of course, everyone wants to see more of Abigail's personal life. As if that isn't enough to prompt Lori's character to return to the series, there's one more thing that makes us speculate as to whether it's possible. Remember that Abigail just left town. She wasn't killed off or anything. Did the writers do that only because they didn't want to take the character's life? Or because they wanted to leave the door open for her to return one day? We don't know whether that was their intention, but fans of the series were certainly pleased with how the issue was resolved. But if you ask me, I bet we might find out for sure pretty soon, because Season 8 of the series is currently airing on the Hallmark Channel. Too bad Loughlin herself hasn't commented on the rumors yet, but she has a lot to do these days. And before we find out what the actress is doing now, let's take a quick look back into the past and find out what exactly happened that made her quit the show. From a blooming career to a prison sentence. Fans of the actress certainly remember Lori's involvement in the nationwide college admissions scandal at the beginning of 2019. Back then, Loughlin and her husband, Massimo Giannulli, were accused of paying considerable bribes to make sure that their daughters were admitted into the University of Southern California. And since then, Lori's acting career has remained in question. Following the litigations, the Crown Media Family Network made a statement, firing her from When Calls the Heart. We are no longer working with Lori Loughlin and have stopped development of all productions that air on the Crown Media Family Network channels involving Lori Loughlin. After a while, the actress pleaded guilty to fraud charges. She was sentenced to 2 months in jail, as well as 2 years of supervised release. But that wasn't it, because she also had to undergo 100 hours of community service and pay a $150,000 fine. And in August last year, Loughlin finally commented on her charges. "I thought I was acting out of love for my children, but in reality, I had only undermined and diminished my daughter's abilities and accomplishments," she said during her virtual hearing. It was heartbreaking to see Lori in tears while saying this. The actress added that while she wishes she could go back in time and do things differently, she had no choice but to take responsibility for what she did and move forward. "I will do everything in my power to redeem myself and use this experience as a catalyst to do good and give back for the rest of my life," Loughlin concluded her speech, and it looks like she has lived up to her promise. The actress has already paid the fine and completed her 2-month prison sentence, as well as 100 hours of community service. She was released right before the new year on December 28th, with a chance to start anew. New year, new life, right? Let's see how Loughlin is planning to use her second chance at life after prison. What's Lori doing now? It's obviously hard to adjust after being released from prison, but Loughlin is doing her best.
We did talk about things like that. You know, the importance of not listening to what the press has to say or what other people have to say. Being the best that you can be.
After a tearful reunion with her daughters, Olivia Jade and Isabella Rose, she was relieved that she could put her ordeal behind her. And, as an unnamed source recently revealed to People magazine, she's willing to return to acting. She's always loved her career. She loves filming and creating movies, they said. But don't get too excited yet, because reviving her career isn't Lori's main focus right now. Of course, since she's finally a free person once again, she's enjoying being back with her family. But her release was not entirely joyful, because her husband, Massimo Giannulli, is still serving his sentence. Yeah, the trouble isn't entirely over for her family yet. Massimo was given 5 months in prison instead of 2, as well as more hours of community service. Because of COVID, Lori can't even visit him in prison right now, so they can only communicate via phone calls. So the actress's main concern is reuniting with him as soon as possible. The source added that Loughlin would probably put everything else on hold until Massimo is back home. So we can say for sure that we won't see her in season 8 of When Calls the Heart. After all, the production was already wrapped up before she was even released from prison. Another problem for the actress is that she's currently in the United States, while the series is filmed in Canada. It's unclear whether the Canadian government will allow her to come into the country, because they are usually very strict with foreigners who have had legal issues. And yet, we are still hoping for an announcement of Abigail's return sometime during the current season. And maybe, just maybe, we'll get to see her again next year, because in any case, it looks like When Calls the Heart will stay on the Hallmark Channel for a long time. Do you agree that the series should once again become an example of forgiveness to all its fans? Share in the comments below if you want Lori Loughlin to come back as Abigail. If you liked this video, watch another one we made about the real reason behind Daniel Lissing's departure from When Calls the Heart. And stay awesome!